Welcome to Courtside Moms. I'm your host, Wendy Sparks. Today's episode is extra special to me as I will be speaking with another magic mom, Shelly Davis Gordon, mother of Aaron Gordon. I will also be speaking with his sister, Elise, who plays an important role as his brand manager. Sit back and listen to this magic moment.
I do it naturally. I do it naturally, baby.
So first of all, ladies, I'd like to thank you so much for coming here today. Here we are at the Amway Centre where your son and your brother, Aaron Gordon, plays as well as my son. So I thought it would be so fitting to have this day together on our very special court.
Yeah, thank you for having us here.
Thank you. Last night we had a victory.
Yeah.
Our first home opener game against the Cavs. Go Magic.
Yes. Magic for life.
Yes. So tell me, ladies, what is your expectations for this new season?
I think this is going to be their best season, and I think so because they've got so much continuity. So they have the same coaching staff this year. They have pretty much the nucleus of returning players.
Right.
So they're building together, and you can see them playing off of each other better than they have in the past. And I just think expectations are high, and I think the guys have really worked hard. So I think it's going to be a good season. I'd love to see them make the playoffs, go further in the playoffs, and really make a name for themselves here.
Absolutely. I truly believe that this is something that they can do as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that last season was just a proof that, they can do it and they can achieve great things. And again, I think that they've got the same players and their chemistry is great. And, having the same coaching staff there definitely helps as well. I feel like they know each other better and they've got some great new players as well. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a fun season.
Absolutely. They're gelling
Yes.
together.
You can see
and and they're getting closer and just doing their thing. So I'm excited as well.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yes, it will be. So let's talk about Aaron. Let's go back a little bit.
Yes.
What was Aaron like as a child?
Well, I'll give you the mom perspective.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Then you can have the sister
Oh, yes.
perspective too. So, because he was the third of a pretty boisterous family, he really had to scrap for attention. So he was kind of the comedian, and he was sort of the guy that really kept everybody entertained. We also thought that he probably should have been a lawyer because of how he could try to talk his way out of anything, homework or going to bed or whatever. So, but he was the third of a bunch of competitive kids, and I think that caused him to drive pretty hard. He also, of my kids, was basketball obsessed from the moment he opened his eyes. And I always tell the story of how ball obsessed he was we were stopped at a stoplight and he saw a ball in a gutter and he opened the car door because he was going to run across 3 lanes of traffic to go get the ball. And I had to slam the door shut and tell him no, he wasn't. But I mean, that was what he was like. He was very obsessed with ball from very early on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually very funny.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care about the traffic.
Right.
You
We
know?
always said he had
It's
a
more
little.
about,
We always said he had a little golden retriever.
Yeah,
in there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely that would be kind of one of his spirit animals
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. He was definitely, being the baby, he had to keep up. And if you wanted to hang out, he had to keep up. And if you couldn't keep up, then you couldn't hang out. So I definitely think that made him go harder and play harder and kind of had him grow up a little bit. I want to say grow up a little bit more, but he's definitely a goofball. He's really funny. He's quite the character. He's silly. He's such a kid at heart, and I think that he always will be. And when you get to know him and you're in that personal setting with him, and he's able to let his walls down, it's just that inner kid again, that 13-year-old, that middle schooler, especially when he's around his friends. It just reverts back to his natural state.
What kind of brother-sister relationship did you guys have? Yeah. As I see Shelly laugh.
I like to say that I made him tougher. I definitely was not easy on him growing up. I was the instigator of our family, and so anytime there was a problem, I was usually the one who was causing it, but then liked to cause the problems and then step away and watch other people have to solve them. So Aaron dealt with a lot of that growing up. He kind of took the brunt of that force, being, the one that I could pick on. And so he definitely got picked on until I'd say probably, maybe I think I might have been a freshman or sophomore in high school. And I came home one day and was messing with him and was trying to prevent him from getting up the stairs, just being annoying. And he looked at me and he said, no. And he picked me up and threw me over his shoulder and walked me upstairs and threw me on my bed in my room and said, you're on timeout, and closed the door. And that was when I was like, okay, well, no more, I guess the tides have turned.
No more little brother, eh?
I guess I'll be nice now.
Yeah, you bet your magic.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, since, growing up, we've always been very close. We've got a great relationship now. We live together out here in Orlando for a few years, and it works. He's one of my best friends, and we've gotten closer as we've gotten older, and, I'm very happy to have him as a brother.
Well, that's amazing because you guys are a basketball family with your husband playing basketball, your older brother, Drew, playing, and then yourself. Let's talk about you and where you played.
Yeah, so all three of us, my older brother Aaron and I, my older brother Drew, Aaron and I, we all went to Archbishop Mitty High School. We all went to the same high school together, and we won state championships in high school. Aaron was Mr. Basketball. Drew was, the leader of the entire kind of movement of basketball in the Bay Area. He's the one who kind of started it. When you go back to the Bay Area, he's the one who's like, you think hoops, you think Drew Gordon. So that's kind of how it all started. We've always been a basketball family. We always have been playing in the backyard together. We've always motivated one another, and, we've always watched each other's games and supported each other. So I went on to Harvard. I played 4 years at Harvard. And the whole entire time, it was great having them support me and, talking to my older brother who was playing at New Mexico and playing overseas, and just being able to decompress on games together and talk about, what's working for our season and what's not working for our season, and vent about coaches and teammates in just a safe space where people understood and you knew that, whatever you were saying wasn't going to get back to the people that you were saying it about, and, it wasn't going to affect your playing time. So that was great. It was an amazing support system to have, and definitely a motivating factor in my entire career.
It must have made it so comforting.
Absolutely.
Being amongst your siblings, your dad, your mom, everybody's so amazing where they understood where you're coming from, because it's hard when you're the only player within the family and your family either, most of the time they don't know.
Right.
They're not really familiar with the basketball world, whereas your family had an inkling of what was to come.
Right, yeah. I mean, we all would stay after school and end up at practice, and then we'd all drive home after practice together and eat dinner together and ice our knees together and do it all over the next day.
That's amazing. Tell me, when did you realize that Aaron was the player that could end up in the NBA?
Well, it started with Drew in middle school, and he started to get a lot of attention. Even like by 8th grade, people were coming up to me and saying, do you realize what's going on with these kids? Because he was coming out of 8th grade. He was probably, 6'7" maybe?
Yeah.
6'7", coming out of 8th grade.
Almost fully grown.
And very, very athletic. And, so it kind of started there. And he, he was incredibly highly sought after even as a high schooler. We had, we started getting letters as soon as he got into high school. And then, there was just kind of this natural follow-on that it was going to be Aaron as well. So by the time, there was this expectation, right? Because Drew had come out of high school and had gone into college as a highly, highly recruited player. Elise had done the same thing. And then as Aaron came along, if anything, I think we were smarter about it. You know, we knew how to kind of manage the hoopla a little bit better and not let us overwhelm us quite as much. Three very different experiences. You know, we always say, unfortunately, Drew had to be the test kid because we didn't really know what we were doing, you know, and so we let all the coaches come in and, you know, and it was overwhelming. And then with her, the women's side of it is very different as well. The kids can be a little more selective sometimes, and it's not quite as intense of a process, I think. So she got to make her decision, I think, without as much pressure from external, with people saying, well, you should do this or you should do that. And then by the time Aaron came around, we really knew what we were looking for him. And of course, you know, we were being told again that there was a likelihood that he would only be in college for a year, and to be prepared for that. So, and I think that would have happened with Drew. He had injuries, and he was at UCLA for just a year and a half, and the program was really having issues, and he didn't like it, you know. So it's interesting how each of the paths kind of diverged in different ways.
Yes.
But I think you kind of get the feeling of what's going to happen right at kind of senior year of high school. Between junior and senior year, you kind of know, based on what our trusted advisors were telling us, what the future was going to hold for him.
And how, as a family, do you prepare yourselves for that? Because you know that, hold on a second, there's a possibility that my son could end up in the NBA. How do you prepare yourself as a family for that? Because you know that this is something that will change your lives.
Well, I think the way you prepare for that is you find people who are incredibly experienced and knowledgeable. And they have to be people that you absolutely trust, that will help guide you through the process, because you can't possibly know what's going to happen. And I think that you listen to those folks, you trust where your head and your heart meet together about what the right things to do are. We didn't do everything right, for sure, but we certainly got better at it.
Right.
You know, as the kids, each one came out and went into college. So I think you do that, but I don't think you can ever really understand what is going to happen, because I've always said that this level of basketball is higher highs and lower lows.
That's right.
It, you know, when something really good happens, like there was no better feeling than draft night. There was no better feeling than that dunk contest where, you know, it just absolutely broke open, and it was just, every single person was calling me and telling me how amazing that was. And then there's the lower lows. There's the injuries, right? And then there's, you know, difficulties with teams and all kinds of things that can happen. And as a parent, those hit you hard because they're so public.
Yep.
And so I do think that the other way you prepare is you have to steel yourself, and you have to just know that that's going to happen and just let it roll off.
Do you think that Aaron was prepared for the ups and downs of basketball?
I don't know. You lived with him. You probably know that.
I think he was, to a certain extent. I think that as an athlete and having played either an entire career and having experienced those ups and downs through high school, you know, he went through injuries. He tore his ACL. Was it ACL or meniscus?
ACL.
He tore his ACL. You know, he's had concussions, you know, stress fractures. He's won championships. He's lost games. So I think that, you know, he understood that there are always ebbs and flow, and there always are highs and lows in the game. I think you get to this level and it just gets magnified. I think that it just is a bigger stage, and the highs are higher and the lows can be lower because you are on this larger stage and larger platform.
But I think that Aaron has surrounded himself with a good crew of people that help him with not just his day-to-day stuff, but also help him with mental development, skills development. He's very much in line with the whole mental training and building yourself so you can be present on the court, and so you can have a lot of mindfulness when you play. And he's surrounded himself with some people that have really helped him with that. And I think that when you only go to a year of college, you don't get that growing up.
Right.
So I think he's had to kind of accelerate that by using some of those people and their knowledge and letting them help him grow up.
Right. After he was drafted, round 1, 4th pick to the Orlando Magic. Your role changed now from big sister to his manager.
Yes, yeah, it worked for the timing. The year that he was drafted, 2014, was the same year that I graduated from Harvard. Again, I'd been in sports my entire life. I'd been around the industry. We were preparing for this. And it came to a point where he had the decision where he either got to hire externally with somebody that he would have to get to know and figure out how to trust and work with, or he'd get his mom or myself.
That was a no-brainer.
And it was a pretty quick decision.
Wait for who?
Yeah, right. And so, again, I needed a job, and at that point, it was a good position. I got to stay with my family. I got to experience a lot of new things. I got to learn a lot of things on the job. I got to meet a lot of people in the industry, and it has definitely sparked my career in the professional sports industry. And it was a great experience. I think that it definitely took a little bit of sacrifice. I think that the first years that I was out here, I was learning everything. It was all new to me. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was learning on the job. But it gave me great experience, and I think that within that time frame, Aaron and I got a lot closer, and I was doing a lot for him. And I think towards the end of the first 2 years, I felt as though I was losing myself a little bit to doing everything that he needed done. Everything that I did was for him and for his career, and making sure that he was set up, and it benefited me. But I think that at that point, I knew that if I stayed in Orlando in this role, I would get stuck in this role, and that there was room for me to grow within the team, within the family role, within the position that I held for him. So that's when I decided to take a step back and get my master's in business. And so now that I've achieved that and I've gotten that from USC, I'm ready to come back. And I understand that I have an impact to make, and I have, a role on this team, and that I can help him in ways that he needs it. So
It seems that your growth is amazing.
Thank you.
And is this what led you to want to become an agent? A certified agent?
Definitely. I think that all of the experience and all of the trials and the tribulations that we've gone through together, the highs, the lows, it's fun, it's exciting. Again, it keeps me close to my family. It keeps me close to a sport that I love, that raised me. And there aren't a lot of women in this industry. And so at this point, I hope to change that. I hope to be somebody who can be a face for other women who want to get into this industry, and be a voice for them and be an advocate for them.
Good luck to you on that. It's such a great initiative that you want to continue in this sport and be an agent, because there's a lot of new players out there that are going to need
Definitely.
fabulous agents that have such a basketball background from playing as well, and understanding the role more than just one day saying, hey, I want to be an agent, and having to learn, where you already know the ins and outs, right?
Well, thank you. I
With your two
appreciate
brothers
that.
and your father and your mom, so
Definitely.
it's great.
It definitely gives me a unique position and a little bit of a leg up on a competition, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So your family, being this basketball family, I know you do a lot of initiatives to give back to communities.
We do.
Can you please tell me, Shelly, about the programs that you actually initiate, please?
So we have a family foundation called the Gordon Family Giving Foundation. And within that, we kind of have two branches. One of them is point philanthropy, where it's needed in a community. So that can be things like, we partner with an organization called My New Red Shoes, and we do shoes and clothing and school supplies for kids that are either extremely low income, foster kids, homeless kids, and brand new immigrant children. And we do that in the Bay Area and in the Portland area. The kids run a lot of camps, and in the summer we do camps always for low-income areas. We do camps for homeless kids. We always invite kids from the foster system in. In addition, we are really focused on systemic change. So the second branch is focused around helping underserved and underrepresented kids get a leg up in the technology area.
Right.
So I feel, having had a 35-year career in technology, that it's really continues to be the future, and it's where I think many of these kids can break out of generational poverty. They can become educated, they can become part of this amazing technology center that's here in Orlando, that's obviously in Silicon Valley and pretty much everywhere these days. So we run a couple of programs. We've partnered with Facebook and Sphero to bring little robotic, programmable, they're just adorable. They're clear balls that the kids can program, and they can do it anywhere from kindergarten, there's lessons for them, all the way up to, I mean, our high school kids were super engaged with them as well, but you can incorporate them into geometry lessons. You can teach kids coding with them. And the balls are super reactive, and they'll even go underwater, so it's super fun. So we've done that, and then we also have a program called Code Orlando. And that program, we kicked it off this summer with 31 high school kids, and they were actually age 12 through seniors. So we had some 8th graders all the way through. And we took them on a 30-day tech odyssey. We introduced them to companies all around Orlando. We had them do full days at the company, meeting engineers who looked like them, who had similar backgrounds to them, who had overcome obstacles that many of them would be overcoming as well. We brought in about 10 guest speakers, just luminaries from the tech world and from the business world around Orlando. And they had 3-day internships where they went out to either Nemours Children's Hospital and worked on technical projects for kids that can't get out of a hospital bed. They worked at Limitless, that does 3D printed prosthetic arms for children who've lost limbs. And they went there and helped to program the limbs and helped to paint some of the limbs and get them functional. Or they went to Full Sail University, where they worked on game coding and app coding. And then at the end, the kids, we surprised them all with scholarships. So each one of the kids on the last day got their first college scholarship, and we will be following those kids all the way through until we don't just get them into college, but we get them successfully through. And they were an amazing group of kids.
What is Aaron's role?
Well, Aaron's ultimate role with Code Orlando is to start his own school. And he would like to start a school that's based a lot on the LeBron James I Can Academy, where he takes the kids that are kind of the bottom 10 and 20% of their classes and surrounds them with the support they need to become successful. So our first step, and his first step, is this Code Orlando program. So he and I talked about it. We talked about what we wanted to achieve. A lot of the content was based on some of his ideas of what he wanted to do with the kids and how he wanted it based around STEM. And then throughout the whole month, he would come to a lot of the visits with us, with the companies, you know, so, and that's nice for the companies. They get to take a photo op and put it in their quarterly newsletter that Aaron was there. But he developed a real relationship with the kids. And I think I could see that once he met those kids and he saw how phenomenal they were, he kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And the kids just loved it. They got to the point where when he would walk in, it wasn't just a giant hoopla, it was, oh, Aaron's here. And I think the kids got to see that Aaron was just a kid too. But they just loved having him there. And on the last day, he took them all into the gym and he played sharks versus minnows and just really ran them all around. And the kids just had such a great time playing with him and he with them that, you know, he's ready to do it again next year.
Aaron's career has proven to be very successful. What kind of advice do you think that he would give to future players or even current players?
So I do hear him give advice to younger players, and I do see him mentoring a little bit now. And I think that what he talks to them about is just being present on the court, really being focused, just being mindful about that current play, that current situation. If the ball goes in, great, you get ready for the next play. If the ball misses, great, you get ready for the next play. And I think he's really worked on that himself. And so I think when he talks to youngsters, he just says, look, stay healthy, take care of yourself, be mindful, be present, and really just, play with focus and with purpose. And I think that's pretty good advice, actually.
Yeah, I think one of the things I hear him say constantly, and it's very true with him as well, is he just tells them to be passionate, to play with passion. And it's not even, he doesn't even necessarily say you have to be passionate about basketball. You just have to be passionate about whatever it is that you do. Right. He'll tell you that he loves basketball. Like, he can't go a day without not playing. And so for him, if you're passionate about it, you're going to be motivated to work hard and to get better at it and to, try to be the best that you can. So for him, he's like, whatever it is that you're doing, if it's basketball, if it's coding, if it's school, if it's sport, whatever you're doing, just be passionate about it, and that passion will translate through.
Absolutely. Passion is what drives people.
Definitely.
At the same time, sometimes we're faced with challenges. What type of challenges has he endured, and how did he go through the challenges?
Well, I think probably the biggest challenges that he's faced has been injuries. Injuries for top athletes are just devastating.
Absolutely.
Because, in a flash, things come to a grinding halt, and that's it. You're done. Sometimes it's a nagging injury, and you don't want to say anything, and you're riding that fine line of how much longer can I play before this does become a huge issue. So, he's had several pretty major injuries. The first year out, he played so much that they had to tell him to stop working out after games and things because, he was really putting too much stress on his body. And he ended up with a stress fracture in his foot. So he learned from that. He learned that he has to pace himself. But I think that when you have those injuries, it's the mental toughness that you have to rely on. And you have to be patient, and you have to not have that inner voice breaking down your confidence and breaking down your resolve. And I think that's really tough, and I've seen all three of these guys go through some pretty big injuries, and I think that really is, for this high level of athlete, I think it's the toughest part.
How, as a family, have you all filtered all of the negative distractions that a lot of players face?
I think we'll at least lead that off because she was with him for the first couple of years, which I think are the hardest.
I definitely think that we did a pretty good job, and again, it helped that we had experience with Drew and with myself, and in understanding that you need a trusting team that you can rely on to help you filter that out. And the more you trust your team, the easier it is to stick with just them and stay on the right path. I think that I did a lot of the filtering. I was kind of the bad guy. I was the one who people knew that I was working with Aaron, so if you had to ask for Aaron, you had to come through me. And I was okay with saying no. I was okay with vetting everything, and I'd say, people would come with 10 opportunities, and I would end up pitching maybe 2 of them to Aaron because the other ones just weren't actual necessities. They weren't legitimate. And the other thing that it's difficult is the women as well. These men are high-profile athletes. They're good-looking. They have money, and women notice that, and they want to be a part of that and be around it. I think it was a blessing and a curse for Aaron that I was out here because I was an excellent groupie blocker. We're just I don't know if that's politically correct to
I
say,
love that. I love that.
But I mean, when I was out here, people a lot of times women didn't necessarily know that I was his sister off tops. And so if we would go out downtown, I would go out with the entire team, and the entire team knew that I was the sister and that I was kind of security, and I would, either lead the way or kind of stay in the back, and I'd stand in front of the sections and, either shovel women out that didn't need to be in the section, or, you know, help them out in ways that they needed to be helped out, because the women are ready and the men are men.
You know, and it's very tough. It is tough because there are vultures.
Yes.
You know what I mean, that are out there, and they see the money first, right?
And it goes both ways. You know, men entertain it, especially these young guys, especially if they're single, and they have a right to, you know, they're able to do that. But you always have to be careful. You always have to protect yourself. And sometimes that's not what these young men are thinking. So it's nice to have somebody who is thinking that. And that's where I come in.
And I would add,
Yes.
on a more global level,
Mom perspective.
that as a family and as that small group, we communicate a lot. So we are constantly in communication about if there's an opportunity that comes in. It's not just Aaron that hears about it and Aaron's business manager that hears about it. It's the whole group.
Right.
Just this week, we had a big family meeting, and the family meeting included our finance folks, and it included the agency people, and it included marketing people and management people. And we sit around the table, and everybody airs out kind of what went well, what didn't, what we need to focus on for next year, what we don't, what are our roles, what's my role as a mom, his dad, you know, my husband, what are we all doing? And that communication, I think, also helps to carry him through, because he may say, I'm not listening, I'm grown now, but he is. He's for sure listening.
Of course he's listening.
Yeah, a lot of times when I need to say something to him, I'm like, Elise, tell him this. And then it works.
It's true. It sounds different when it comes from someone else other than your mom, right?
Yeah, I mean, and
sure.
he's hearing a lot. He gets a lot of people want to talk to him, and he gets a lot of input from a lot of different directions. And sometimes it's hard to listen to them all. So you got to pick those few people that you know you really want to listen to, and that things will resonate with, and you just filter through them.
Shelly,
Yes.
as a mother, what would you like to tell other mothers to look forward to not look forward to? What do you want to leave us with today?
You know, I think that as parents, it's incumbent on all of us to nurture our kids for whatever their strengths are. And yeah, okay, my kids are really good in basketball. But boy, I mean, every single parent I know has kids who have some amazing capability or strength or some talent that they need to nurture. And I think that's fine. And I think that's something that all parents need to focus on. I want kids to be whole people. I want them to be multifaceted, and I want them to be critical thinkers. And so I think it's really a parent's job to nurture that whole thing. When I see kids who are just completely one-tracked or aren't given time to explore a little bit, they're not given time to do things that they really want to do. No, you can't be in drama because you're in basketball. No, if this kid wants to be in drama, let him be in drama and let him do those things, because I think in the end, they're going to find what they're passionate about, and it's going to be from them. And then they're not going to burn out because it was my idea or it was their dad's idea. And so maybe it's just a little bit of let your kids have that space to explore and to grow as complete individuals.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with today, Elise?
I'd say that if you are related or you know a professional athlete or somebody in the industry, just try to be as much of a support system as you can for them. Understand that there is a lot of people coming at them from a lot of different angles. Understand that they go through a lot during the season. They have 82 games, they're on the road. Understand that they have a lot of people asking for a lot of things from them, whether it's tickets, whether it's travel, whether it's, whatever. And understand that they're guys too, that they're human beings, and that, they're young men who happen to come into a fortunate situation because of the talent that they have, but understand that they still are young men and that they still have to grow. And I think that people see these guys from a distance and they treat them like superhumans, and they put them on this pedestal of thinking that, they're not like normal people when that's exactly who they are. They're our sons, they're our brothers, they're our cousins, they're our nephews, and that's what we have to remember, and we have to continue to nurture that and not just have it go from you're my son, you're my brother, now you're an NBA player, and that's who you are. We have to understand that they're the people first, and they just happen to be good at basketball.
Right, and the player. After.
Exactly.
That's so true.
Exactly.
Well, I must say Aaron's very blessed to have such a great family that keeps him grounded.
We
And-
try.
We
Yeah,
try.
that was good, yeah.
And keeps him where he's at. So thank you so
Appreciate
much
that.
for
Thank you.
sharing your wonderful stories of success and your challenges, the adversity. But the Gordon family is truly amazing, and I see you as a family that a lot of people should follow and understand, because you set such a great standard.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you for
very
having
much.
us.
Yes,
We
we
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Courtside Moms, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast.
I do it naturally. I do it naturally, baby.